Skadoosh ASMR Heavy. Hello there, it's me, your best bud with ASMR goods, the ASMR goods, your best bud with the ASMR goods. Hopefully this video finds you well, hopefully you. Hopefully you are well, hopefully you are well. Back with another Monday night movie club. And as we talked about last time, the next film up is Whiplash. Anyway, hopefully this video finds you well, hopefully you are well. And if you got a suggestion or whatever, let me know and I'll do my best to give it a go. Other than that, sit back, relax, it's about to begin. So yeah, if you're not familiar with the format, where have you been? And also, it's just a simple process. We do a little colouring page and do a little film review. We've got our handy dandy Spider-Man pencil crayons, which they did me in last time out. They did me in a little. They frustrated me just a bit. Because I can basically, a lot of them starting to need sharpening now, and they keep breaking, and it's like, grrr, turn into Tony the Tiger, mate. So yeah, we'll probably just go off abstractive. We need to today, because like I say, I can't be doing with that again, so it is what it is. What do we go with? So yeah, Whiplash. The film is called Whiplash. It tells the story of Andrew Neumann, played by Miles Teller. Did a great job, to be fair, He's an aspiring jazz drummer, as you can tell. This is supposed to be Andrew, and this is his drum kit. He wants to be in part of a jazz ensemble to start with, anyway, because he's at this amazing school that does this prestigious music school. Yeah. It kind of sets the scene quite slow-ish in terms of like understanding what's going on, in my opinion. But as it goes on, Andrew is pushed to extreme physical and psychological limits throughout the film. It's basically the main plot. You know. Also, if you're not aware of this, spoilers ahead. Obviously, we're going to be talking about the film. That's the point. But yeah, he's pushed to physical and psychological limits for it, and this is done by a somewhat abusive, but mainly just demanding instructor slash what's he conductor. He's the conductor of the band, essentially, and the main teacher called Terence Fletcher. He seems to be a well-established. That's the only thing I wasn't sure about in the film. Yeah, I didn't really take this away or not. Is whether Terence Fletcher, played by J.K. Simmons, which I can't lie, all I could see was J. Jonah Jameson, yeah, because he just made to play J. Jonah Jameson in Spider-Man, yeah. J.K. Simmons, so he's a victim of his own success in that regard. So yeah, I can only see J. Jonah Jameson. Spider-Man, hey Parker, where's my shots? Spider-Man. He's a fraud, I know it. In the his obsession with trying to figure out what the real secret of Spider-Man is. Anyway, that's not this film, but like I say, I can't see J.K. Simmons as anything other than J. Jonah Jameson, to be honest. I don't know if you have other actors like that, actors and actresses, which you can only see them in. They just play one role so perfect that was made to play that role. That was made to it. Anyway, that's he plays Terence Fletcher in this. He plays Terence Fletcher in Whiplash, and he pushes the absolute limits beyond. Probably he pushes the boundaries, to be honest. He probably breaks the boundaries, let alone pushing to them. He pushes right past them, to be honest. It seems a bit excessive, but at the same time, I don't know. Like, if you achieve greatness, is there anything you wouldn't? If you was really about it and really wanted to succeed in such a field, and that the only way you could actually get there was through this kind of, treatment, is it worth it? I've never been there, so I can't say. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it's one of those things you can't say without. If you don't make it, then obviously it's not worth it. But if you do, then there's like a bit of hindsight. You can only make this decision with hindsight, is my opinion. Is as to whether it's something that you've been through was worth it and was maybe the only reason that you actually made it in the first place. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, that's here nor there. That's down to the individual and their circumstances. But as the way that this film, as the way that the film plays out, I think even Andrew kind of believes it. His methods towards pushing him to greatness are worth it. The punishment is worth the reward, kind of thing. The push, the excessive pushing to try and make him towards greatness is maybe worth it to him. Although the only thing, quick takeaway here, like I say, quick one, jumping outside of the plot. Obviously, if you've seen it, then the very end, you can see that just how far Andrew is willing to push it, just how far he's willing to push the envelope on what he's willing to accept or not. And I just found, I don't know, I'm not sure if and basically what I'm getting at is I feel like that bit at the end was kind of him saying, like, yeah, I do want your approval that much that I'm gonna be willing to put myself through anything you was doing to me before, which I've kind of gone against. He was the whole slapping him, the pushing him around, abusing him verbally and in front of everybody, playing with him psychologically, saying, "Oh, yep, you're off. No, you're on. I believe in you. Do your best. This, that, the other." And he kind of like dropping him as soon as it seems like he's not doing good enough. All these little factors that add up, in my opinion. And then he kind of broke Denny and he went against him, especially because it turned out that Terence's methods had basically resulted in some other lad killing himself after the abuse that he had suffered at the hands of him. It's a weird one, isn't it? It's like my take was he didn't push anyone that he didn't believe was potentially good enough, if that makes sense. Especially hard, anyway. I think he pushed everyone. I think he had a way of dealing with people, which probably wasn't the best. But there are people like that in there, and they're just a bit. They're just people which aren't the most pleasant. But I don't think they necessarily mean anything by it. That's just the way they are. There'll be people that don't know how to take those kind of people, and that's hard, ain't it? But that's also tough. It just is what it is. But for those handful of people which maybe it turned out for, they would have needed that kind of motivation, that kind of treatment to find the edge and push past it and find their limits and exceed their expectations. But at the same time, what I'm getting at is, I don't think it's worth the way he was going at the end. It's kind of over to a degree. He basically set Andrew up at the end to embarrass him and make sure that he was never going to get any kind of job in any kind of jazz context ever, by putting him in a hall of people, in a show in front of people, which were just going to be like, yep, you've embarrassed yourself there, and they'll look down your nose at you forever, basically. Which I don't know if that's actually true. That would have been what happened if you just would have not gone back on stage at the end. But you thought, nah, I'm not going to take that. You went back out, and he put on an absolute show. As people say, yeah, one great show can change the world. Yeah, one great show can change the world. Just get me to school on time, you know what I'm saying? As we are really pushing the envelope of this pencil's limits. Like I say, I don't want to sharpen it, because it'll definitely break. I'm almost certain every single one we've had so far is broken. I swear. And we're almost done with this red, probably. I feel like we're probably done with it. So if we can just get the last little bits. Even if it's a bit rough, it's a bit rough. That's the way we roll anyway, so it doesn't really matter too much. Yeah, we do need this red for one more bit though. It's quite important. You'll get the reference, I'm pretty sure. He also had some kind of like thing going on here as well, didn't he? So we'll do that. Do we go with that colour, or do we go with something else? Anyway, so what I was getting at was, basically that very end sequence was an act of defiance by going back on stage. It was like, no, I'm not taking that. But I also think it turned into a level of, actually, I actually do require your approval, is my take on it. I don't know if that was actually what was intended, but all I'm trying to make a point on is, one, this is what I think happened, and just talking about the film a little, but also I don't think you should ever search for anyone's approval to that level. You should never do that. It's not worth it. See, look, they just constantly break. So annoying. Oh, for God's sake, so annoying. So yeah, I don't seek anyone's approval to that level is what my takeaway is. If that makes sense. Yeah. I also like the way they left it kind of open, because the way he was putting on that show, I feel like that would have been the start of big things for Andrew, to be fair, so it kind of worked out well in the end. His life seemed like it was spiraled out a little, and it was like maybe his dreams had left, wasn't going to work out the way he was hoping, the way the film kind of pushed towards him. His dreams were all about this, that, the other, and it seemed like that wasn't going to be the way it worked out for him. But then the way it finished, it suggests to me, like, actually, how could you not go on to big things after that? But yeah. That climax with that performance at the jazz show, yeah, demonstrates, Fletcher's mastery of manipulation and Andrew's ultimate, if unhealthy, commitment to achieving his dream of becoming one of the greats. That was what all his mind was set on, even like falling out with family. It looked like he had like a decent, love interest prospect with, I forget the lass's name. I forget the girl that he was seeing for a little bit, but she kind of moved on, which is, good for her. It seemed like, I feel like they was hitting off, and I feel like they could have had a good relationship. But I did like that he was truthful about it. He was they probably resent each other. He's too focused on that was kind of refreshing in a way. It was horrible, but also refreshing to see some kind of like that level of honesty. You don't really get that kind of stuff these days. But yeah, that was kind of all he was hyper fixated on, was being an absolutely great, and that's why he was willing to make those sacrifices and go to the lengths. Also, I didn't really get, it was never really addressed. He said that the first time he got into the main band, into Terrence's, aka J. Jonah Jameson's band, he was like, I'll be there at 6:30, I think it was, and then he did, and then there was never really touched upon. I think it was obviously a test, but there was no like reference to it that, oh yeah, I know that he was there. I don't know. I thought that was weird, but I think it was just setting the tone to be like, J.K. Simmons' character is an arsehole, basically. He's an arsehole. He's a harsehole. So yeah, I feel like, yeah, anyway, my takeaway, I think that's what the beauty of it ending, like the way they ended it, was that it leaves it super open to your interpretation. Did they have a massive fight afterwards, which is potentially a good option? But I think with that show, how could they have not grown like some kind of mutual respect level? They would have definitely had a struggling relationship between them. But I feel like that was the point where they kind of realised, actually, together we can make some absolutely magical things happen. And so I don't see how they could not move on from there. But yeah. The film that you get, the school he goes to is called is Schaefer, isn't it? That's it, Schaefer. And yeah, it's all about. Although I found it interesting that I probably butchered this a little, but that bit when he's like slapping him, he's like, "Get it, come on, get it." The timing, it's all about timing, or whatever he was saying, yeah. Which I thought was a bit excessive, like I said, but I think that's funny because I swear I read something this weekend about Italy were drawing with Liechtenstein. I'll look into it in a sec, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And Gattuso apparently did the same thing to some of the Italy players in the dressing room in football, yeah. And he was like slapping them, and they went out and won 5-0. So sometimes art is representative of real life. So these things do actually happen. as ever, if you wasn't sure or wasn't aware, I'm not a good artist, but it's just about some of the sounds, about the sounds. It's about the sounds more than anything. More than anything, it's about the sounds. Yeah, another little thing to note is, like, when Terence, before, as he brought Andrew into the studio band, he kind of had like this connecting moment, and it made him seem like humanised him to a degree. He's like talking about his dad and like his family and this and that and the other, and it seemed like there was like connecting. It was quite nice, to be fair. And I was like, oh, that's decent, especially because they kind of set the tone with him a little, being he didn't seem like the most pleasant character before that, and like I said, kind of humanised him, and then literally less than 5 minutes later is using that against him, saying, oh, your dad's a loser, this, that, the other, mummy didn't love you, and I can't remember what he said specifically, but he literally then used that connecting moment against Andrew, which I thought was diabolical, to be fair, but extremely, so it shows you, like, I don't know, it's interesting. There's a few things I couldn't quite put my finger on about his character. About his character. Also, I just realised it's like Wonder Woman colours, isn't it? Now that I'm colouring in the W. That's cool though, isn't it? It's cool. It's a decent colour palette. Just about milk to that for all it's got left. Just rid of that, got it all it's got all it's got left in it. Because yeah, part of me, I can't lie, does wonder if he does actually care. You know, Schaefer's, what's his name? Terrence's character, I forget his name already, crazy. I thought that was darker than that, but it's not. I'll have to just use a blue, I think, or something. It is what it is. It probably wouldn't look too great. I wanted it to be like as dark as possible, but yeah, so part of me does wonder if he does actually care a little bit, even if only a little, if only a tiny bit. Or if he's just a complete arsehole, completely. Probably the latter, to be fair. Probably he's just an arsehole, but it is after he found out that the former student had, committed to taking his own life, he was super choked up about it and played his music and like said, oh, how great he was, and then he got he also kind of said, "Oh, it wasn't a case of, it wasn't a case of, it wasn't a case of." He said it was in a car crash, but obviously that turns out to not be the truth. Yeah, so where was I? It's just I had to take a call. Sorry, I had to take a call. But I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. So yeah, that was all a bit curious. That part of it. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was all a bit curious. All a bit curious. Like, did he lie because he didn't want people to associate that, to kind of jump to the conclusion that was actually the kind of the truth to a degree, especially in his band, or I don't know. There was a bits of that I didn't understand. I'm not gonna lie. When he kind of, yeah, when that happened, I was getting ran for you. Classic. So yeah, I don't know. I thought that was interesting. I thought it was crazy the way that the whole that when he was trying to get to that one jazz competition, and the buzz broke down on the way, so he had to improvise, and he got the car, and all of that was a bit mad. I didn't really like the way it was sort of really clicky at the school either, but it's probably just the way that it is at those kind of places, to be fair. Yeah, you think, well, why can't people just be friends with each other? I didn't really like that aspect. I didn't really like that aspect of the film, I can't lie. Well, what's the point of just being, basically rude to each other? Although I guess you could argue that jazz has got a connotation of rudeness. Not that that necessarily has to be true, but sometimes stereotypes for a reason. Not always, but a lot of times things don't become, a stereotype if it's not kind of based in truth. As we continue our Wonder Woman palette. course I find a colour like this now. I butchered that now. Oh, wasn't great to begin with. Yeah, so anyway, I don't know if he was. I do wonder when he was crying about that when he put the music on and that, and he was actually having like an actual moment, a somewhat touching moment, yeah. Which I'm not really sure what's going on here now with the rest of his body, but when he was actually having like a touching moment, I don't know if that was him crying because he felt guilty about it, or because he actually felt just genuine, like sad, just because it's not a very nice thing. So yeah, I was a bit like, wondering about that, to be fair. Yeah, I think that's it. I think this is still him, so it looks a bit awkward, but I don't really know what else to do with it, to be fair. And then yeah, the only thing left is this circle on the outside. I'm not really sure what to do it in there. I'm not really sure what to do it in. I'm not really sure. I feel like just look, I'm matching. Of course it falls straight out. God's sake. I feel like just something which matches what I was doing at the start would be fine. Yeah, I'm not really sure there's much else to touch on really, to be honest. As I find that piece of red crayon, infuriation takes over. Other than yeah, I thought it was a good film, I thought it was an interesting watch. Like I say, it kind of gave me a bit of an insight. I didn't really understand, I've never really heard any of that music before. yeah, I'm not sure. I didn't want to do this as solid, but maybe I've messed it up. I don't know. I tried something. It maybe worked, maybe didn't. I don't know. Whiplash. Yeah. Anyway, I thought it was good. I thought it was interesting dynamic of like showing like what certain people are like in the pursuit of excellence. You know, especially when Fletcher initially takes Andrew into the band, and the relationship is defined by fear, intimidation, and endless demands for perfection. And he's like, again, and he's like doing this and again and again. This is me doing that to Andrew again. And he's like, nope. Although that's crazy that he can take in what's actually happening. If he actually is taking in what's happening in that moment that quickly, that's crazy to me. Kind of, that's pretty crazy. And, Andrew sacrifices his personal life, like I was saying about, including his romance, to his pursuit of the happiness that way, to practice constantly, and that that endeavour, that pursuit of earning that approval from Fletcher, which I think is the way that he thinks is his way to being actually great. But yeah, I feel it does. The story does build tension super well. It builds tension super well. As Andrew faces various humiliating events and pushes his body to its breaking point constantly. Like that's what I did. Like the blood on his hands. That's why I did the blood on his hands, because he kept really pushing it. He's like, especially with this. Especially with this kind of move, like that bit when there was keep the tempo being right and stuff. That was crazy, and it was like hours. It was absolute hours. There was waiting for whiplash. I always feel like I'm not sure in person, but when I see it in like this shot here, when I'm like this, I'm always like, what, that looks alright. It doesn't look too bad. It could be worse. Could be worse. Whip, flash, whip, whiplash. But yeah, like that whole bit when he's there, like, and then he eventually gets it, because none of them can do it fast enough. But yeah, that, like I say, that climax, when it's culmination of the final performance at the JBC, which I was like, that's a telly, bro. That's just a television. What are you about? Jazz Viva City. I don't know. Where I feel that was kind of crazy. Where Fletcher orchestrated that complex, high-stakes situation. That's the thing. That's the other thing. For that, to be fair, for that climax, did Fletcher think that Andrew would step up like he did? Was that the whole point? Because he was constantly setting these kind of weird scenarios up like that. Oh, let's bring in a third member. Let's bring in someone you can compete with. Let's force you to the absolute edge, even though I'm basically only hearing a second of it. So, do you actually know if it's actually that good? And sometimes I would say, yeah, there's a lot of people, I imagine, in those kind of situations, won't even need 3 to 5 seconds to play themselves into that moment, rather than just be like instantly perfect. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's the case for that. There's a lot of other things where that's kind of a thing, though, isn't it? And like, it doesn't develop into what it needs to be instantly. It might need might even be like 10 to 30 seconds before it goes and clicks. You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? But yeah, did he actually think that was what was going to happen, or was the whole point just to humiliate him? Like I was saying before, that was what he originally believed. It was to set him up so that he would never work in jazz. But the whole intensity of that final scene, fueled by their kind of like weird competition with each other, and also like weird mutual. I feel like I say, especially because I feel like Andrew earned that from Fletcher at the end, that mutual respect, and that display of raw talent, and controversial, ambiguous victory. Like I say, I can't see how they didn't go on to do special things together after that, and I feel like that was why they left open that way. But yeah, interesting. the only thing I would say is if he did it, the only reason I'm thinking now that maybe he did set it up on purpose so that Andrew would rise to the occasion is that surely having that would be embarrassing for him too in front of all those jazz community, to a degree that even though you could be like, oh, I didn't know that. The way that they set it up, the way that they suggested that the scene was for these kind of people, in jazz inclined people, to me was that they, especially for him, he should be in control of every single element. So if anything was wrong, it was also his fault. So surely that would backfire against him long term. So that's the reason I kind of actually leaning towards now. He kind of just rolled the dice in the belief that Andrew would just step up and make it happen. Make it happen, yeah, make it happen. Other than that, I don't know. Other than that, like I say, it was kind of, I feel like they paced it just about right for the whole thing. There was a lot of interesting, like, sometimes difficult to watch-ish, because it's just like punishment, and he's just punishing it, basically. But yeah, I just think it's funny about that whole, like, that slapping him bit, and then chatting stuff about him literally happening at the weekend with, like I say, I think it was Italy. I'll look at him now. Pretty sure it was Italy. Pretty sure it was Italy at the weekend. But yeah, it'll be interesting. They played. Who did they play? They played Estonia at the weekend, and they, like I say, it was 0-0 at half time, and they won 5-0 in the end. Moisekin scored 2. I can't see anything. To be fair, about this happening. It might have just been something made up. I see it. Reddit will have the answer on it. It was Gattuso though, who's their manager, isn't it? So it makes sense if he was to do that. I can't see anything about anyone saying that. I can't see anybody saying anything about it. So maybe it wasn't a real thing, but maybe it did happen. Maybe it was just something that was coincidentally. I read it after I literally watched the film. So I don't know. Anyway, that's that for this one. Hopefully that was okay. These pencils are still getting on my nerves, I can't lie. But like I say, I imagine you can't get many pencils these days. Maybe there's such a thing as pencils that don't break. I don't know. Next film is Top Gun. So if you want to watch it, ready for next week, and we can, it makes more sense when you watch next week's one, then that's cool. If not, that's cool too. Either way. If you just want to listen to me chat a load of Mac, and then, with the pencils, attack the paper, and butcher it up just like this, then you are welcome to it. Other than that, there's only one thing to say, and that's have a great day. Thanks so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Other than that, cheers for the best. God bless. Like I say, have a great day. Cheers for the best. God bless. Goodbye, my friends. Goodbye.